Imagine buying your absolute dream property, a sprawling 5-acre sanctuary that you spent years saving for, specifically because of a breathtaking, spring-fed pond tucked away in the back corner of the lot. For the first 3 years, it was a literal paradise where you spent your Saturday mornings fishing in silence and your evenings watching the sunset reflect off the glass-like surface of the water. But then, the peace was shattered when a woman we will call Karen moved into the adjacent property and decided that your private oasis was actually her personal playground. It started subtly, with her standing on the edge of her property line and staring, but it quickly devolved into one of the most audacious property disputes in HOA history. Karen did not just want a view of the water, she felt entitled to it. And within a month of moving in, she began lobbying the Homeowners Association board, claiming that the pond was unfairly restricted and that it was a community asset that had been stolen by the original developer for your specific lot. If you have ever dealt with a neighbor who thinks your hard-earned property belongs to them, you need to hit that like button and subscribe right now, because the legal trap this homeowner set is a masterclass in petty justice. The conflict moved from dirty looks to official paperwork when the homeowner received a certified letter from the HOA board titled Community Harmony and Shared Amenities Update. The letter informed him that, per a new board resolution led by their newest member, Karen, the pond was being reclassified as a common area effective immediately. The HOA claimed that because the pond was fed by a natural spring that crossed under multiple lots, no single owner could claim exclusive rights to it. This was, of course, a complete legal fabrication, but Karen had spent weeks whispering in the ears of the other board members, promising them that opening the pond would skyrocket everyone's property values. When the homeowner reached out to explain that his deed explicitly included the entirety of the pond's surface area and the land beneath it, he was met with a cold response. The HOA told him that community bylaws supersede individual preferences, and then hit him with a $50 a day fine for maintaining a fence that obstructed community access. This was the start of a Cold War that saw Karen leading groups of strangers onto his land, claiming she was giving tours of the new neighborhood park. The tension reached a boiling point on a hot July afternoon when the homeowner returned from work to find a full-scale invasion of his backyard. Karen's teenage children and several of their friends had hauled a massive charcoal grill, 3 coolers, and a set of speakers onto his private wooden dock. They were jumping into the water, blasting music, and leaving trash everywhere. When the homeowner calmly asked them to pack up and leave his private property, Karen appeared from her backyard, screaming that he was harassing minors and that she had every right to be there as a dues-paying member of the association. She even went as far as to call the local sheriff's department, claiming there was a hostile individual threatening children. When the deputy arrived, the homeowner produced his official land survey and plat map, but because the HOA had sent out a community-wide memo claiming the area was common ground, the deputy informed them that this was now a civil matter, and he couldn't force anyone to leave until the court decided who owned what. It was the ultimate insult, and it was the moment the homeowner decided to stop playing nice. Instead of just fighting the ownership in a standard court battle that could take years, the homeowner and his attorney decided to use the HOA's own greed and Karen's arrogance against them. They drafted a formal notice of liability and regulatory noncompliance. The genius of this move was simple. If the HOA truly wanted to claim the pond was a public common area, they were now legally responsible for it under state and federal safety statutes. The letter informed the board that, because the pond was now a public swimming facility, the HOA was currently in violation of multiple laws, including the lack of a mandatory 10-foot security fence, the absence of an ADA-compliant wheelchair ramp into the water, and the failure to provide a certified lifeguard during daylight hours. Furthermore, the attorney pointed out that the HOA's current insurance policy only covered dry common areas, like sidewalks and the entrance gate. If a single person, including Karen's kids, suffered so much as a scratched knee or a near-drowning incident, the HOA would be liable for millions of dollars in damages that their insurance would not cover. The most devastating part of the letter was the personal liability clause. The attorney cited state law explaining that because the board members had knowingly voted to create a public hazard without proper insurance or safety measures, they had forfeited their corporate veil protection. This meant that when the inevitable lawsuit happened, the victims wouldn't just sue the HOA, they'd sue the board members personally, going after their homes, their cars, and their retirement accounts. The reaction was instantaneous. The other board members, who had previously been charmed by Karen's community park idea, suddenly realized they were standing on the edge of a financial abyss. They called an emergency meeting that same night without inviting Karen. They voted unanimously to rescind every single fine, officially apologize to the homeowner, and record a legal disclaimer of interest in the county records, permanently admitting they had no claim to the pond. But the homeowner had one final card to play to ensure Karen never bothered him again. He discovered a specific HOA bylaw that Karen herself had helped pass, which prohibited any unauthorized modification of the natural landscape. He pointed out that Karen had already begun digging a dirt path and installing stepping stones on the edge of the pond area to make it easier for people to walk down. Since the board had now admitted they didn't own that land, Karen's path was officially an unauthorized structure on a neighbor's property and a violation of the community aesthetic code. The board, desperate to stay on the homeowner's good side and furious at Karen for putting their personal finances at risk, ordered Karen to restore the land to its original state within 48 hours at her own expense. Karen was humiliated, her influence on the board was destroyed, and the neighborhood she tried to rally now looked at her as the woman who almost got them all sued. 6 months later, a for sale sign appeared in her front yard. The homeowner still lives there today, enjoying his pond in total, beautiful silence, reminding us all that the best way to defeat an HOA is to make their own power too expensive for them to keep.